Collector is a new crime drama written and directed by David Ayer. If you don't know who David Ayer is, directed films like Fury, End of Watch, Street Kings. He also is the guy who wrote the screenplay for Training Day back in the day. In this movie, it stars Shia Labeouf, Bobby Soto, Cynthia Carmona, and George Lopez, among other people. Bobby Soto in this movie plays a character named David, and David in this movie is a tax collector. He works for this cartel, and this cartel is headed up by this person named the Wizard. Basically, he goes around through the hoods of LA to all the other businesses and people that work for this cartel, and he collects 30% taxes on it. And Shia LaBeouf, he follows him as kind of like his muscle, but also he's his best friend. Before long, there's a long-lost rival of the Wizard who comes in from out of town and starts causing a lot of problems, and all of a sudden, David and Shia LaBeouf's character Creeper find themselves caught in the middle of this intense cartel war between the rival and between the Wizard. And so David has to try to figure out a way to get his family to safety while also dealing with this war and the implications that it has for all of their business. I would classify myself as a fan of David Ayer. I have actually enjoyed the majority of his movies, regardless if a bunch of other people out there have not enjoyed a lot of his movies. Try not to pay attention to other people and their reviews and what they think about a movie before I see it, but it was hard to get away from some of the noise on my timeline on Twitter about this movie. Now that I've seen the movie, I can honestly say, yeah, it's flawed and it has problems, and I can't even really defend the movie and say that it's really good or something that I enjoyed. But is it as bad as what all these other people are saying? No, come on, man. I mean, we live in a world where 9 Lives exists. I mean, Jack and Jill exists, the Emoji Movie, 50 Shades. I mean, we have been through the ringer when it comes to shitty movies. Although that's not really a great defense for a movie is by pointing out that there are worse movies and shittier movies around. I know that doesn't really speak to my confidence in the movie. All I'm saying is the people that are talking about this movie in hyperbole, who are breaking it down and saying it's like the worst thing ever, I think we need to chill a little bit. One thing I can say about David Ayer is he's really good at delivering that hardcore rated R entertainment. Cartel shit, gangsters, mobsters, like that's David Ayer's lane. He's pretty good at it. He's pretty good at depicting it, the shots and the locations. He utilizes the setting. I can't actually remember if this was shot on location in LA. I think it was, but I'm not sure. Given that David Ayer is from those type of neighborhoods, lends itself to the aesthetic of the movie, and there's some pretty solid cinematography based off of that. Speaking of cinematography, can we single out the women in this movie? Because my God, good Lord, sweet Jesus, all of that. I mean, the women in this movie, whew, the shot composition, I tell you.
Sweet Jesus!
I'm not going to say too much more than that. Cynthia Carmona, who plays David's wife in this movie, she's among other women in this movie. Just the visual effects, just chef's kiss. Just love what you did in this movie, ladies. Just saying. From a performance standpoint, I think everybody in the movie was solid. I wouldn't say that there's a lot of great performances here. I don't think David Ayer really pushed these actors and brought the best out of them the way that I've seen him do for other actors in some of his other movies. Really, the best thing about this movie is definitely the villain. The villain is this guy named Conejo, I think is his name, and he is the perfect type of over the top for a movie like this. Dude is kind of menacing, he's kind of crazy, and there's a lot of entertainment to be found when he kind of comes in and then he throws a monkey wrench into the whole cartel operation. What the hell is this guy gonna do next? What does he have up his sleeve? What kind of hell is he gonna put these characters through? To warn you guys going in, this is not really an action movie. There is some very stylistic and entertaining action scenes, especially towards the end. They're brutal, they're gruesome, they're very violent and bloody, the type of stuff that you would love to see in a David Ayer movie. If you're going into this movie and you're expecting an action movie, I'm here to tell you right now, this ain't that. Do not expect a lot of action. I feel very conflicted and frustrated because I do see the potential for a better movie in this movie. Kind of like those old Tootsie Roll commercials, and you're thinking like, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? I can see the Tootsie Pop center in somewhere in this movie, but it's covered up by a whole bunch of other messy things. For one thing, in terms of character depth for this movie, there's really not a lot of it. They do kind of the bare minimum with a lot of the characters in this movie, as well as polish off and dust off a few of the older cliches and stereotypes that come associated with this genre. Nobody in this movie is really as fleshed out as I think the screenplay wanted them to be. The biggest disappointment with this movie is definitely Shia LaBeouf. After all of the promotion and the marketing and the hoopla about Shia LaBeouf and his tattoos and what kind of character he's playing in the movie, you watch the movie and you find out Shia LaBeouf he's nothing. He's in the movie, sure, and he and David have some conversations that are somewhat fun, I guess, sometimes. But his character is just a big nothing because not only do they not flesh him out at all, you don't really find out anything of note about Creeper this entire movie, but his character is set up and teased to be such a badass. Like, he walks like a badass, he talks like a badass, he does that jacket thing, you know, where he has his shades on and he either folds his arms or he comes into a place and he goes, flap, flap. you know, the jacket flap. Come on, guys, you've done it before. And hell, I did it. The first time that I saw Blade, I went into a local bank and I just started flapping a jacket that I didn't even have, and people looked at me weird, and I don't know. That was a good memory from my childhood. The thing is, everything is teased about him being a badass character, and you really never see it in the movie. You don't really see anything of consequence come with his character. He feels wasted. It feels like a wasted performance from Shia Labeouf. It feels like wasted potential for that character, because that character set itself up to be a lot more compelling than what the movie actually had. That's what this movie really feels like to me. It feels like a lot of wasted potential, wasted opportunities, bad editing also. This movie's editing is a little bit all over the place. The way that scenes are cut and the transition to different scenes in different locations as you're going back and forth throughout the story, it's just very jarring. It's very abrupt at times. There are scenes that are thrown in and you're kind of like, why is that there? The poorly delivered dialogue, as well as some poorly written dialogue where characters are much more interested in sounding tough while saying fuck instead of saying something compelling or interesting. David Ayer, unfortunately, in this screenplay, he prioritizes tough-sounding dialogue and cuss words over something that could be more emotionally resonant, or dialogue that could be more interesting or better written. The build-up to the third act of the movie was not all that interesting or entertaining for me, even though there are some entertaining things about this movie. I gotta say, I was a little bit let down by the execution. It's a pretty decent gangster movie, but I've seen better. I'm gonna leave this one in the Fortress of Solitude. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? What is your favorite David Ayer film that he's ever made? Put that in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.